Hello, this is Adrian Johnson from mensrightssydney.com. Recently, I decided to go to an event called Reclaim the Night. We did many interviews there with different people, and so, yeah. We used two separate recording devices. One was a GoPro camera attached to my head, so yeah, if you see it wobbling around, it is because I can't literally move my head without it moving with it. Also, I don't think it was adjusted perfectly straight, unfortunately. Slight problems. We'll do better next time. Anyway, I also used an audio recorder, which I used to get superior audio quality for the most part for the interviews that I had with people and the conversations I had with people. However, at times, the wind picked up, and unfortunately, the audio recorder picked up the wind over their voices. However, my GoPro camera has an audio recorder in it, and it was inside a water-resistant casing during this event. So basically, it did not pick up the wind in such an extreme manner as the audio recorder. So what I have done is I have created this video where I am mostly using the audio from the audio recorder. However, when the wind picks up and destroys the audio from the recorder, I simply swap the audio that you will be hearing to the audio from the GoPro camera. Anyway, sorry that was a really long explanation, but you know, it has to be said. This particular group is called Solidarity. I had a conversation with them. I had more than one, and this video contains two of the three conversations I had with them. The first conversation I had with them was when they decided to move the table because they thought the table wasn't in a very good spot. It wasn't where a lot of people were, so we didn't talk much the first time. So just the last two conversations with them. Enjoy.
Curious is a socialist organisation.
Okay.
And agrees with most of what's happening here today at Reclaim the Night.
Okay. Do you have anything specific you could want to tell me you disagree with? Other than
I'll speak
possibly
on behalf
me.
of myself. No. I've got no problem with you being here. I am only loosely aware, but the history of this group is that it's an autonomous women's collective, and other things that they've done in the past to put women in front of men in terms of rallying and so forth, where women walk in front, in terms of just making it a women's only event, which I understand the purpose of, but I think it misses the point politically.
Do you think there's perfect legitimate spaces for women's only events or men's only events? Do you think there's
there are, but
possible good things that could happen out of those things?
Of course, there's no problem. Well, of course, there's possible good things that can happen. It doesn't mean that as a structure it precludes good things from happening from it just because it's by itself. But it misses the point when you're making a political point about a group who's in a way oppressed to exclude other members from supporting that and so forth is counterproductive.
See, that's a word that I have never used, oppressed, and I'm just wondering who's oppressed and who's suppressing whom.
What exactly do you mean?
You just used the word oppressed.
Who's oppressed?
Yeah, who's oppressed?
In the entire world, do you mean?
In this country here, where you're protesting.
Refugees would be the first one. The main reason that we're here is for Abiyan.
Abiyan, okay.
Do you know who Abiyan
and not.
Is? Abiyan's a refugee who's on Nauru, who was raped on Nauru. And
so that's a specific refugee.
Yes.
So for a second I thought it was a country.
What?
For a second I thought it was a country.
What, Abiyan?
Abiyan, yeah. I might have misheard you.
That's a pseudonym for a person.
Okay.
Who was raped and impregnated in one of the
So that's
centers.
not his or her real name?
No.
Okay. Is it a he or a her?
She's raped and she's pregnant.
Alright, okay. So Will she be given access to an abortion?
Well, that was what we have been protesting about for quite a while.
So she won't be?
She was. Well, I'll finish for you. She wasn't. And after a number of actions, including two of the people you see behind you, plus the girl who's here before, all getting arrested at the immigration department, she was brought to Australia and for an abortion, which she was then denied and then sent back to Nauru via the Solomon Islands before a court injunction could be made. And then recently, only a couple of days ago, Peter Dutton finally agreed that she could come back and get the abortion, and she's now had it.
So why don't they have the facilities to do that at the detention centres?
Because in Nauru it's illegal, and there's no facilities full stop in Nauru.
Ah, I see. That makes sense. So
hence, when she's under Australian protection, she deserves to be able to come to Australia and get medical attention.
So since
under Australian protection,
right, yeah, since that camp is, as I understand it, technically Australian soil, would there be anything stopping Australia from setting up such facilities there so that this doesn't happen again?
There aren't those sort of facilities there, as in like sure, you can try and get them to set up, but at the moment they're not letting councillors talk about what happens over there. Have you heard of the Border Force Act?
No, I don't. That is an area of politics where I don't know a lot, which is part of the reasons why I showed up here.
Yeah, so the Border Force Act is something that was something put in about 2 years, 1 year ago maybe now, a little less than 1 year ago, by the government, which says that any person who works in one of the detention centres and whistleblows about anything, or just talks about their experience in any way, can go to prison for 2 years.
Don't we have some kind of whistleblowers protection in New South Wales or... I forget if it was New South Wales specific or...
This supersedes that.
Okay, so it stops that protection for whistleblowers specifically, which I was under the impression would still include that.
Not at all. So that's a slight side issue to Avian and why we're here. We're here to advocate on behalf of
it reduces the information that you have, though, doesn't it? Because anyone who gives you information could be arrested. So that is,
of course,
that is definitely free speech is.
It's an insidious, somewhat totalitarian law.
It is.
It came at the same time as the whole you could be stripped of your citizenship if you're dual citizenship and suspected of terrorism or a family member suspected of terrorism.
Just suspected.
Remember that one by the it was immigration minister, wasn't it? Was it Morrison back then, or I think it was
was that under Gillard or Abbott? Abbott. Okay.
Yeah. And it was the minister's decision. It wasn't by a tribunal. It was the minister's
decision. So it was a decision of a
citizenship.
Specific minister.
Yes. Which
and
is again extremely.
So that supersedes the principle of democracy. That it's supposed to go through a vote. Generally.
Or some sort of tribunal or court or some sort of judicial system.
And so that's okay. So far, I'm liking what I'm hearing about this.
So the reason why we're here is to connect the issues of women's oppression across the world. The activity that they're doing, but in Australia.
Okay.
The activity they're doing with the way refugees are treated. Rape is endemic on Nauru. There's been reports of, I can't cite numbers for you in terms of sexual assaults and rapes, but the percentages are incredible. Something like we're talking like 3-4% of the people at least have been raped in their 1 year there type thing.
Okay, and are the rapes limited to women, or are there men being raped in that instances as well?
If you have a look at the sociology of Nauru and Papua New Guinea and other Middle East, other Pacific Island countries, a lot of them have extremely high rates of domestic violence, extremely high rape rates, and the women have been raped in the detention centres and also when they've been released from the detention centres into the community, and it's not safe for them either place. And so what we're trying to draw together is that when Turnbull talks about violence against women, he is condoning and supporting the violence against the women refugees who have been raped, and also the absolute fiasco that they had in terms of not letting Avian come for abortion, and then the whole kerfuffle when she did come and sending her back, and then lying about what she said and not putting her counselor.
It does sound like a big waste to bring her here and then just send her back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit stupid.
Well, it's part of the whole mantra of the Liberal coalition to create this sort of we can't accept no negotiations, no measures with any sort of refugees because we're trying to stop the boats falls
I mean,
all under the same line of their reasoning, and it's.
I mean, I'd understand them trying to prosecute people smugglers who are doing something illegal, who are putting people on very dangerous boats and putting lives in danger. I'd kind of understand to a degree going after that, but going after the refugees themselves, it does not seem to be a particularly positive.
No, of course not. And I'd fundamentally disagree with you on the other issue.
Well, I'm saying I understand.
Illegal and so forth, and people seeking asylum is completely legal.
No, I agree that people seeking asylum are completely legal. But do you agree that the people smugglers who are smuggling people here in rickety boats that are dangerous, do they have some responsibility for the ones that sink, or is it just?
I think they do, but I think by putting that sort of burden upon them,
but it's not just
them.
On them. Yeah, I'd agree that Australian government has a certain amount of responsibility as well.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they don't.
I think when someone reaches your border, it's just like it's, I think, a good metaphor. Imagine someone is the other end of the park.
Yeah.
The house is right here. This is where you live.
This is where I live.
Your home is all built up here. It's a beautiful place to live here for 100 years. Right?
Okay.
Like Australia, it's been here 100 years, right? Since Federation. So
yeah, sure, fair enough.
So when someone all the way over there has a gun at their back and is being chased by someone with a knife, so they're being chased by someone with a knife all the way towards you, and maybe that knife gets them while they get here. Maybe that knife does. Maybe they run away and hide somewhere and stay crouched over in that corner
or
on the other
behind
side
a
of the
tree
road,
or something.
or maybe they get hit by a car as they're trying to get away or whatever.
Right.
But they run towards your house. When they get here, do you let them into your house, or do you say to them, no, if I let you into my house, more people are going to come running with knives, and that's going to create more of an epidemic? No, you would automatically say, come into my house, there's some freaking knife out there.
Okay.
Be safe within my community, within what I can look after you.
And I'd imagine you'd call the police on the person
Yes,
chasing
exactly.
them with a
However,
knife. So what's the
unfortunately,
equivalent that we can do? Do we go over there with...
No, so the equivalent that we can do is we can stop A being the knife in the first place with bombing Syria.
Okay.
On the same day we said we'd accept refugees, we also said we would start bombing Syria.
Right.
We can stop bombing Iraq. We can end imperialist policies that create refugee tragedies like exist right now.
Isn't ISIS also creating a refugee tragedy?
Do you know how
in
much
and of itself?
weaponry and money the US government just dropped to ISIS recently?
I am aware.
Yeah?
It's kind of like Osama bin Laden.
Yeah,
They were
ISIS are a
originally-
break off of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda's
Yeah.
first piece of strength came from the US giving it to them.
Yeah,
Taliban, the exact
during
same.
the Cold War, I believe.
Taliban, especially during the Cold War, they wanted to create a...
I'm Adrian Johnson. I'm from Men's Rights Sydney.
Right, I think you should fuck off.
Why?
I don't think you're welcome here.
You are the first
A
person.
demonstration for women's rights.
I'm asking
rights
questions
activists.
about. I'm asking questions about women's rights. I'm
Not
curious.
interested in talking to you about your questions. I think you should fuck off.
Okay, well, I'm not interested in fucking off. Look, I'm being respectful. Am I not?
I agree you're being respectful, but I think your position by just being here is respectful. Do sort of understand that.
I actually invite feminists to our meetings.
Do you understand how men's rights activism fundamentally undermines female rights activism?
No, I do not understand how blacks getting rights would undermine white rights. I don't understand how men's rights would undermine women's rights. I don't understand how anyone having rights undermines anybody else's rights.
That's a theoretical question which can easily be answered because someone who gets a right to oppress someone else is a right.
Well,
But anyway,
who is oppressing somebody here?
an answer to a theoretical question, that's what I answered.
Okay.
Anyway, it's pretty hard to talk with this music now.
Look.
But I do agree with this statement that you probably shouldn't be here. It's very disrespectful to be here. It's bad that you ask questions and you're being respectful of the way you're asking questions, but...
So the conversation then shifted, as you've just heard, to whether or not a non-feminist should even be allowed to attend a feminist rally or a feminist event. Now, I don't want to be too critical of this guy, because this guy is reasonably respectable, but I will say that if MRAs stay in places where MRAs are and feminists stay in places where feminists are, that's what we call an echo chamber. And echo chambers are usually where the worst of humanity comes out to play. In my personal opinion, it is a person's duty to seek out those of whom you disagree with especially seek out the ones who are good at speaking and putting forward the position of which you disagree. Because even if you end that discussion still disagreeing with them, there's a chance that you might learn something. And you may change your ideas based on that. Or they may change their ideas based on your conversation. I don't think it's at all positive to stick around solely with the people of whom you agree and not engage the people of whom you disagree. Anyway, we're going to fast forward now to later on.
Interesting. It's actually less loud than I thought it would be.
Less what?
Loud than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it wasn't especially loud. No.
Is it louder other years or?
Other types of rallies are louder.
Okay. Cool.
Any enlightenment listening to the speeches or anything, or?
I actually have chatted to some of the people who put tenders up to run the new shelters as well.
Yeah.
One of them was called Linking Hearts, and they do specialise in DV, but I'm aware that others probably don't.
Yeah.
They had a problem with who had the DV shelters before, because according to them, the people who had it before were renting DV shelters out as office space.
Right.
And not using it as actual shoulders. So yeah, it's interesting to get both sides of that discussion. So yeah, there you go.
You obviously, I'm sure, support domestic violence shelters in principle.
Yes. I think anyone, man, woman, whoever, who is in a situation should have a place to go.
Yeah. So.
That's kind of why I interviewed Linking Hearts, who they accept men and women, straight, bisexual, gay, whatever. And it was interesting to interview them because they're run by the Muslim Women's Association. And Muslims having such a bad rap and them doing such a good thing, I thought was an interesting angle.
Yeah, well, I think that bad rap just comes straight from the government and the media, not from much else.
Well, there's also small extremists that ruin it for everybody that exist in every religion. And group of people and ideology.
For everybody is exacerbated by the fact there's media that helps them ruin it for everybody.
Oh yeah, the media are there to make a profit. The media are there to get people to look at their newspapers and to watch the ads.
It shouldn't be, but they are.
I know, I agree it shouldn't be, but that's what they exist for, and they know creating controversy is the best way to do that. So yeah, unfortunately. That's why the internet is the best thing to come across, because we can now record things as to what they are.
Yeah.
And challenge the narrative spread by the media.
Sure, it has its own challenges though.
Yeah, I don't know. That's true. There are plenty of people who want to censor, other people's points of view and other people's opinions, and that's problematic. To borrow a feminist term, that's problematic. So, yes.